Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023. We respectfully acknowledge the land on which we gather as the unceded territory, traditional territory of the Secwepemc. Okay, approval of agenda. Recommendation that the committee of the whole meeting agenda for August 2023 be approved as circulated.
So moved.
Yvonne. Word. Carried. Recommendation that the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting held on July 26th, 2023 be adopted. Councillor Beach, Councillor McCabe, all in favor? Carried. We have Bob up there. Okay, we don't have any delegations. So we're going to start with the childcare facility upgrades, 502 Cedar Street, Kids Kingdom Childcare Society. Kelly and Amar, I think you have online. Thank you.
I will quickly start and then I'll pass it over to Amar. So these I'm just presenting to council today as we own this building. However, the Kids Kingdom Society will be navigating through these renovations. This is the existing building. This area here is about 1,700 square feet. That will be an addition to the building that we currently have there. No development permit is required for this. It's not part of the development permit application, just a building permit. So the building inspector has reviewed everything and we are ready to issue the permit. However, I wanted council's blessing and just review of it to, if there's any questions. The exterior, so it's going to be a new roof, new exterior. It's going to be hardy board. It'll definitely look nicer on the highway, and it's going to increase our licensing ability. We're going to be going from 25 daycare approved license, and after the renovations, we'll have 25 daycare, 12 infant toddler, 24 before and after, and as well as being able to operate a preschool within there between 9 to 2 of another 25 kids.
Wow.
So it's increasing our capacity significantly. And with that, I maybe pass it over to Amar. He's running around doing a bunch. So I think he's zooming in from his car today. Is there anything you wanted to add to that, Amar? Or if council has any questions about it before we follow through with issuing this building permit? Works he wants to start, I think, next week, correct, Amar? Or the week after? Or you're on mute? No, he's in his car. He's running around getting stuff for the daycare because he's the 326 Capel, the church across the street. He's getting everything lined up for temporary licensing so the kids, so the existing daycare can operate from there while these renovations are going on. So the renovation plan is pretty much in the next 2 weeks, and the goal is to have it done. So in the new year, the new licensing and the new amount of kids will be ready to go. And then our kids club.
Oh, there he is.
Hello, Amar.
Hey, sorry. I didn't know how to unmute it, but thanks for the introduction, Kelly. I think you've hit most items there. Yes, we're going to be moving into the church on Capella over the weekend, and then relicensing there for Tuesday next week so we can continue operating the childcare spaces that we have now. And then as far as the construction goes, we're looking to start pretty much right away. We're just trying to lock down a demolition crew. We have a few contractors from town that have already bid on the project, so we'll probably start rolling on construction into the first week of September, and then we anticipate construction is going to take up until January, February, and relicensing. As for the spaces, the 25 children preschool is actually not going to be a preschool, although it'll operate like a preschool. It'll be a half-day daycare program that runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day. By calling it a half-day daycare program, it allows us to opt into funding from the provincial government, which reduces the parent fee substantially. So it's So that's kind of the plan with the daycare. We do have an additional kind of office space that we've laid out that could be changed into 3 to 5 space for an additional 8 children, and it could be an additional 8 children for an infant space as well. So that won't be licensed at this time. However, we're just kind of working out a plan for it. If we could utilize the space better right now, we might just renovate that and have it licensed.
Thank you, Amar.
Council, do you have any questions for Mar? Go ahead, Siobhan. Councillor Ridge.
Through the chair. Hi, Amar. So with the daycare running to 9 to 2, so people can get in on the federal funding for that, will those kids then move into after school care? So I'm a working mom, 8:30 to 5:30. I can't be there at 2 to pick up. What do we do with the kids at 2?
So we have the 25 children daycare that's 8 a.m. to 5:30. So the 9 to 2 daycare is basically, it's in the addition of the building. So we're going to be running the before and after school program over there, and that's going to be licensed for 24 spaces. While those children are at school, we'll be operating that 9 to 2 classroom.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thanks so much.
Essentially from the hours of 9 to 2, we could have 53 to 5 within that space, in the building.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Amar. Councillor Evans. I can't see you, but I'm sure.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say I think this is very exciting, and I love your vision, Amar, to get this place to be able to host many children, and it's just going to augment what we can already do in the community and make it even so much better. So good work. I'm excited about this project.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Bob. Councillor McKay.
Yeah, I think this is a great project. It's great for the community. It'll have a domino effect. It'll free up single parents to possibly work. So, stimulate the economy. I think with the last grant and the purchase of this building and your grant, I think this is now about a $2 million building. But it's a great asset for our community, and thanks for investing in our community.
No problem.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Amar. And I'm just going to echo what Councillor McCabe just said. I think this is a great project. Anyone else? Councillor Bushel.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, thanks, Amar, for taking this project on, and we really appreciate it. Just wanted to say your site plan looks good, and your layout, your parking layout and everything. Just had a question. What are you doing for signage? I know you're going to, we've renamed it, or you've renamed it. You're going to go on the building, or you're going to have a signage out front somewhere, or is it going to go on the building? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we will put signage out on the front of the building, like towards kind of where the signage was from Little Bears. We just haven't gotten around to creating a logo and all of that kind of stuff, and the website. It's kind of go with construction.
Yeah, no, I understand. Just curious. Looks more permanent when it's on the building, but either way, as long as it's got signage, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions for Amar? No? We're good. Thank you very much, Amar.
Yeah, thank you guys. You have a great day.
You have a great day as well.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Okay. Moving right along, proposed parks regulation amendments, Flocky's Beach. Daryl, take it away.
Okay, so Flocky's Beach. I've got one image I'll throw up here really quickly, Sarah, if you don't mind. So it's an item on the agenda. This might end up being kind of a nothing burger at the end of it, but we did put the sign up, and when doing so, that sign, as you know, is in front of the beach, and there's the road that goes all the way down, which will be a pathway. And the sign originally came with dogs on leash, because we had doggy dispensers there, and there's kind of a walking area as well. So we got a little bit of feedback from one of the residents down there saying, actually, according to your bylaw, no dogs on the beach at all, which I don't dispute. But I thought if we want to have that conversation here today, we can. I went to the company that fabricated the sign. They did a little patch for me, new sign, a new patch, same colors. You can't really even see it. So we have it now signed as no dogs on the beach. If we even want to discuss entertaining that, I don't know. I think we're probably okay with that. I will want to bring the parks bylaw back just to change what's in the bylaw, calling it Tecumseh Beach to Flocky's Beach. So that part of it will come back. I think we're probably pretty much in line with a lot of other places that don't allow dogs on the beach. We did a little bit of research just to look around. It's not a common practice, so.
So just before we start, Daryl, how many complaints did you get, or how much feedback from the neighborhood?
I got a couple complaints from the same place. Call it one.
And just one complaint. Perspective here, Councillor Rich and then Councillor McCabe.
Through the chair, I think this is something we should look at with dogs on leash. None of our other beaches, we do have the dog park, we do have the river, which is a bit of a different venue if you have little kids and you're trying to go to the beach and do your thing there. The off-leash park, which I absolutely love, is it is family friendly, but it's not in the same way as family friendly. And I think it's a way, especially with our public beach being on leash and 6 mile or being no dogs allowed, that maybe this is a chance. And that beach actually has historically been an off leash. People go there with their dogs to hang out with their families and have their dogs. So it's maybe something where that we are an on leash area. I mean, it does create issues for the bylaw guy. He's going to get called out, but he's called out to the public beach all the time for off leash dogs on our big beach here. So I would like to see how everybody else feels about that, because it would be nice that families could go to a public beach that is not at the river, that could have their dogs on leash and be respectful.
Councillor McCabe, then Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, no, I agree that, people who don't have dogs don't want dogs running around kicking sand in your face and stuff. Excuse me. But yeah, maybe we could have one beach in Flocky's that is designated for an on-leash dog beach. And plus the dog park. Could I please have a look at that sign again? Chair.
So no alcohol, no fires, no fire.
Yeah, but same thing. Thoughts as Councillor Rich, really. I mean, I am a dog owner, but I still don't like to be on the beach and dogs running around. But if they know there's one beach designated, and then they have a choice of being there or not being there. And if the dogs are on leash, not off leash, on leash, on the beach, they're just allowed on the beach, but still on leash. Beach out there. Yeah, that would. I don't know.
Thanks, Albert.
Well, I don't know if it should be off leash, but possibly on leash on the beach.
Councillor Bailey.
On leash on the beach, well. I'm open to hearing the pros and cons. I'll just, I own 2 restaurants. So recently this year, we've started allowing dogs on our patio. I personally thought it was going to be a total disaster because it would interact with other customers and everything else. And I was wrong. It's actually not been a total disaster. It's been anything but, actually. Most of the animals that have gone on patio, which now Interior Health is allowing you to do, or the operator is allowed to allow it or not allow it, as long as it doesn't come through the restaurant. It's been problem free. And I wouldn't have guessed that. Like, I was quite concerned about it and how it would impact other diners. Really hasn't. People have been kind of responsible. So, beaches are a little different just because of the more kind of activity, kids running around, other considerations. But I think it's definitely worth the discussion and a look at. And I mean, I would have to say it would have to be on leash. I mean, I don't see how we could have an off leash with other people using it. We'd have to be able to control the dog or somehow. But Yeah, I mean, not a bad idea. I'd say from my experience, it wasn't as impactful as I thought it was going to be in a public place like a restaurant patio, which
Counselor Beach,
I
you can just yell out loud.
just yell, okay, I think that it's nice to have that option with that you can have the dog with you on leash at the beach for families and we've got everything. That way we've got it all covered.
Counselor Bushel.
I see the chair. Yeah, I'm a dog lover too. I think it's great when dogs are allowed to, or on leash. You know, maybe it's nice to have a park that's, you know, that's, you know, where dogs are controlled and not off leash. But down here, you're gonna have a walkway and we kind of have it on there, says no dogs on beach. But we are going to revise the bylaw. But if people are walking, let's say that walkway connects to the hotel and they want to walk on the pathway, but maybe there's no dogs allowed on the beach, or maybe, I don't know. It's a good conversation. It's something I think we can adjust when we revise the bylaw to the proper beach name and everything. We can have a discussion beforehand, but you're gonna have the pathway down there and a lot of people walk their dogs on a pathway, but maybe they gotta be under control when you're on the beach for sure. Yeah, so that's a good conversation with us. We have to look at.
Daryl, what are you asking us for today?
I guess just a little bit of direction, knowing this will have to be brought back because we're going to change the name to Flocky's Beach. Do we want to steer away from what we're doing now, which entails dogs on leash through the parks, that kind of thing? We don't let them run loose. Dog park is for that. Do we want to open up a beach? Keeping in mind, they're busy developing down there, and those will be pretty high-end places too, right? So maybe, you know,
like dogs.
You know what? A dog's on a leash. I mean, I'm a dog lover too, and I think I don't think you can leave your dog in a car, and it's a little bit inconvenient when you're walking down a path and you want to go sit on the beach. Now you have the dog and you can't go sit by the water. I guess it sounds like council is pro dog on leash on the beach.
That's it.
So I guess that gives you the direction you're looking for.
sure. And through the chair, I guess what I'm hearing is we're talking about this location. We're not going to open up everything. And operationally, we'll be looking at putting maybe some more doggy bags near the beach. You know, garbage is needed.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Those work really well. I find that, but I mean, you're never going to get all owners abiding by the rules and picking up after their dogs. But I mean, if we've got everything there and they're responsible. Okay, we're good. Oh, Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, just one closing comment there. Thank you. You know, dog owners are sort of self-regulating, and if they see somebody not complying, they'll politely mention it. So I don't see it as an increased resource for a bylaw officer either.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bailey.
I mean, we can always say that it's a pilot project if we wanted to, like a 1 year or 2 year, and then we come back and review it if we're concerned with it. I'm personally comfortable with dogs on beaches there. I agree with Councillor McCabe. The vast majority of folks I've seen pretty responsible. They're usually with their families too, and they don't want to disturb other families. So I think there's a pretty low risk that this would not work out. I think it would.
Okay, all right, Daryl. Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess the good news is, you know, we got this back and made a decision quickly. And I'm not sure that's actually dried yet, so I can get that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving along, accessibility committee and accessibility plan requirements. Sarah.
Thank you through the chair. So this is an opportunity to share new legislative requirements that impact local governments. So the government of BC is working towards being an inclusive province. There are over 926,000 people with disabilities in BC. So in June of 2021, the Accessible British Columbia Act became law. It provides a framework to identify, remove, and prevent barriers to accessibility. So what does this mean for local governments? As of September 1st, 2023, over 750 organizations, including local governments, are required to have 3 things in place. So one is they have to establish a committee to identify barriers to those interacting with the organization and advise on how to remove and prevent barriers, the development of an accessibility plan that addresses those matters, and then a feedback mechanism for the public to comment on any barriers that they're facing around accessibility. So for an accessibility committee, at least half must be persons with disabilities or people that support those with disabilities or work with them. There must be at least one Indigenous person, and the committee must reflect the diversity of persons in BC. The District of Sicamous staff, along with the staff from the regional district, the CSRD, the city of Salmon Arm, the city of Revelstoke, and the city of Golden, we have all met and are looking at taking this as a regional approach. So a regional accessibility advisory committee. We have also met with a representative from the Disability Alliance of BC, who is supporting the province and providing support to organizations to ensure that there's compliance with these new regulations. September 1st is coming very quickly. So we were told that a plan for a plan is okay in this instance. So again, we've met as a group, we've met with the Disability Alliance of BC, and terms of reference is being developed. So all participating municipalities and the regional district will have to consider those terms of reference and adopt them. And again, this would be an advisory committee that would provide recommendations. The District of Sicamous would still be required to develop its own accessibility plan. And we would take those recommendations, those pillars that are mentioned, that are recommended by the committee, and then apply those to our own individual plan and develop our own feedback mechanism for the public to provide input. And so that's the gist of it, just giving you a heads up that you'll be seeing those terms of reference, that terms of reference for the committee coming forward. And there will be a call for volunteers regionally for those who are interested to participate, to submit expressions of interest to sit on that committee.
Thank you. Council, does anyone have any questions? Councillor McCabe.
So Peter's Digest version there, what does our community have to supply for that regional committee? Do we need a citizen, a counselor, a staff member? What do we have to provide?
So as it's being discussed now, there's no requirement for an elected official. This is the initial plan that would have to sit. It's going out to the larger public. Again, half of the committee has to be those with disabilities or those who work and support those with disabilities. So there's no real requirement from staff or council, just that we support the committee, that we, take the recommendations from the committee and that council considers that in developing a plan. There would be a financial contribution that would be shared just for, to ensuring that the committee can operate. For those that are on the committee, we might be looking at, providing, just for travel, if there's travel requirements, that there would be, those that participate would be provided funds for that. But it would be a shared cost between the regional district and the participating municipalities.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
Okay, permissive tax exemptions. Okay, there's a recommendation here that the committee directs staff to prepare the appropriate bylaws and advertisements pursuant to the provisions of the community charter for the applicants attached for the 4-year term 2024-2027. And Bianca's going to take that away.
Yes, so today at Cal is our tax exemption day. I'm doing both permissive tax exemptions and revitalization tax exemptions. So the first one is permissives. So this one is for places of worship, so our churches in town and our nonprofits. So permissive tax exemptions for our current policy are for a period of 4 years. So this is just getting council's blessing over our list of applicants that we've gotten in for permissive tax exemption. So these individuals will get a zero tax bill for 4 years. That's how permissives works. Revitalizations are different. They do pay the other taxes like school tax, police tax, whereas permissives, 100% tax exemption. So that's the difference between the two. And also these are nonprofit organizations. So we have no new applicants. It's all the same applicants at the previous period. And yeah, just getting council blessing over the list provided. And if anyone wants to be in a discussion, we can have that.
And this list gets embedded into a bylaw. Discussions today, and then the bylaw will be forming it. It's due by the fall.
It's, yeah,
The end of
all,
October.
all exemptions are required to get sent to BC assessment by October 31st here. That's their.
So is this, basically, this is the same list as last year with the exception of the Legion being adding?
The Legion, no, the last go around, the Legion, this is the same upstairs and downstairs.
Okay.
The last time previous to that, instead of giving the permissive tax exemption, we gave them a grant to offset their taxes. So really, no, there hasn't been any difference really with how the Legion has been treated. We've always given them zero taxes in some way or another. Permissives just make it a lot cleaner from a finance perspective, because there's no grant, and that makes sense.
Council, do you have any questions? Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, so they had to present to you, I guess, a financial report.
Financials, yeah.
So, okay, I'll just get to the point. There's one on here that has a commercial enterprise kind of attached to it. And that's, the Legion downstairs is operating as a liquor primary pub, right? I don't see, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody else on that list that does any other commercial enterprise, correct?
Yeah, you're correct.
So then this is just a question. I mean, it's a revenue generating business. It makes money. What's the rationale for including the downstairs portion of the Legion? I can certainly see the upstairs portion as being more of a community hall and a community kind of aspect. It's obviously not generating revenue on a consistent basis. It's definitely one-off. But what was the rationale? And I saw in your note here that it wasn't generally included, the downstairs or the downstairs bar, until 2020. So what's the rationale for the downstairs, which is, what is it, $7,000? So it's quite a significant amount of change for being included when it is a revenue generating and it's a commercial enterprise.
Do you know what, Legions in all of BC, every municipality has the choice on how they want to treat them. Every municipality has treated them differently.
Right.
To be perfectly honest with you, I've looked around at different communities. The communities in around our area, our closest ones, all give 100% exemption. I checked in with Salmon Arm, Revelstoke, I believe Enderby, they all, or not Enderby, sorry, Enderby does not. It's really up to council to decide how they want to treat it. Some, Kelowna, I believe it was, looks at the actual square footage of their area down, in the downstairs area, what section is, would be restaurant. They've complicated in different ways. It's how council, at the end of the day, before we gave a grant to them to offset taxes, it wasn't in the permissive tax exemption. You could, so it's up to council how they want to treat it.
Yeah, this has been I know, because I stick handle this for a long time. So historically, they have really not paid the taxes because we've given them the money. And back in the day, we looked into it. Hey, we're allowed to give them the permissive tax exemption for the whole thing. And at the time, council decided, yeah, let's do it because we cover it anyways via a grant, right? And if they apply for it, so we go ahead and allow it. But really, it's up to council.
Councillor Bushel and Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. Yeah, thank you, Kelly and Bianca. Yeah, it's been a real, we've
hash this out quite a bit and I can't remember, but I don't think I've ever seen a financial statement from the Legion. But they do really good for the community and they do donate a lot of their funds like they did for the curling rink for rocks and stuff like that. And they give it back to the community. But it would be good to, I think all, you know, all not-for-profits that take advantage of grants and permissive tax exemptions and stuff like that should show their financial statements so you can kind of get a handle on what and their donations or what they give back to the community would be, you know, just to have on record.
Yeah, and I can circulate that.
Okay.
So you can
Be
make an
good.
educated decision.
Good idea, thanks. Counselor Rich.
Through the chair, just, and I don't know the exact workings of the Legion, but they are a non-profit and they do give back. Like they're not actually allowed to make money. Don't quote me on that, but that's kind of their thing. So they, with the money they make, they actually put it back into Sycamore. So if that's, you know, last year there was a little kid that needed a special bed that was $7,000, the curling club, Mamas for Mamas. So the amount of money that goes back, I believe, is equal to anything they're making. So they're not banking money and, you know, someone's making money. And maybe that's something you can check for us, Bianca, but there is a massive amount of money that comes for the schools, for the preschools, even individual families. The lunch program, I know, or not the lunch program, the breakfast program for both schools. So you do have to present to them and it has to go through the board, people that have had fires. I know the Legion not very long ago, there was someone that had to be in the hospital in Vancouver for a long time and it went to the board like a local had been here. And so they're not making a profit. I can't guarantee that, but that is kind of what I know of the system is everything goes back to the community.
And just another note, I just know on my one financial officers forum board, one of the comments made was it is up to council. Because we know what our not-for-profits do in the community. It's up to council to hold them accountable. And so when these permissives come to council, they can go, no. Like, what have they done? So it's up to you to, you know, monitor and make sure that the not-for-profits that are applying are a benefit to the community. That's the one thing, like, that's why council gets to decide.
Thanks, Bianca. Counselor Bailey, then Counselor B.
Yeah, I'm more asking the question because I don't have anything really in front of me to understand what the rules of the nonprofit is versus a commercial enterprise. If what they're so maybe you can circulate that financial statement to us because I mean, out of the whole list, that's the only one that's running a commercial kind of, you know, it's a bar or a restaurant or, you know, whatever you want to call it. So that's really my question, because I don't have any real anything to really compare it to, right? So it'd be helpful to know that. And then I took from the 2020 that we changed, but it didn't sound like we changed. We gave a grant before, is my understanding. So like, I guess what I'm looking for is just some more information of what the reasoning is and why, and if all the money that this does make goes right back into the community, then I think that's a totally different thing than, you know, something else. But I guess I'm just looking for some more information to explain that piece, at least the downstairs. I have zero problem with the upstairs part, but I just want to clarify what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Thank you. Counselor Beach.
Through the chair, the Legion has always done a huge amount of support for our community. And I mean, their meat draws are open to other not-for-profits to run and get some gaming money from. So they really do give back, and having been present before recently doing meat draws there, I am so impressed with what a social hub that Legion, the Lower Legion, is for a small community like ours. So yeah, and they are not for profit. They have to run by all those regulations, and they've done good for a long time. So I think that maybe if it's cleaner to to do it this permissive exemption way. It's a good thing to do.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything? Councillor McCabe.
Yeah. Yeah, the downstairs is more of a social hub. You know, they track veterans who passed away and then they have big, you know, celebrations of life.
Yeah.
Not just for veterans, but you know, for community members. Remembrance Day is a big event for potluck, and I mean, it's just standing room only in there, you know, for after the ceremonies, everyone goes for potluck, Christmas. It is, I think it's a little different than some other league that aspect, because, you know, we don't have a lot of drinking establishments in town, like pubs. Two of them. And this is more of a social hub, yeah. And they do give back, so it wouldn't hurt to see their financial statements of what they bring in and what they donate to other not-for-profits and stuff, but there's been times in the past where the Legion was close to folding. We pitched in 25 grand to help pave the parking lot. The Legion did 25, we did 25. And so now there's no gravel in their downtown core, it's paved. They offered up that space just in the fires for RVs to park if they wanted, for evacuees and stuff. It's, yeah, I think it benefits the community to make sure they're still running.
I agree. Okay, we have a resolution on the floor. I'm gonna, did I get a first and a second on that? Councillor Rich, Councillor Bushel, sorry. Any more discussion on that? Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, so carry on, Bianca.
I'm gonna stand up for this one, so a little bit of a presentation. So, different program now.
I just want to share the screen though first. Share this page.
So today we're gonna talk about the revitalization tax exemption bylaw. We'll go about what it's about. Our current bylaw, how the program works, and next steps and discussion. So just to start it off, I will do my presentation and then open the floor. I think there's probably a lot of discussion that's gonna happen, so bear with me, I'll get through my presentation, then we'll open the floor to questions. So what is it? So this is a tool for council to encourage development to achieve a range of economic and or social objectives in the community. How do they do that? So it encourages development by providing a municipal tax relief. So this is for new construction or upgrades. This only is the municipal portion. Businesses would still be responsible for pool tax, police tax, and all those additional taxes. And then so it then achieves it by having specified geographic areas in the community and certain types of development. And it's for a defined length of time. So you can't give an exemption forever. Maximum 10 years, typically it's 5 to 10 years. So what the exemption program must do. So it must describe the objectives of the program, describe how the program is intended to accomplish the objectives, describe the kind of property that would be eligible, outline the extent and amount of tax exemptions available, outline the maximum term of the exemption, not longer than 10 years, and must be considered with the financial plan. What it also should do is it should tie to OCP and zoning bylaws, tie to the 5-year financial plan and other financial objectives, and it should tie the council to strategic priorities. So currently our bylaw states, so its objective is to generate economic growth, new investment and community redevelopment, and to revitalize as prioritized in those. And we currently have 4 tax exemption areas. So the first exemption area we currently have is the hotel area. So this is for construction of hotel development with a minimum of 50 sleeping units. It is anywhere within our municipal boundary. It is a 10-year exemption at 100% municipal, at 100%. So no municipal taxes for 10 years. Assuming a construction value of 5 million, this in the very first year would give them about $46,000 tax rate. Over the 5 that's 5 years old. 10 years old, over $500,000 tax rate. And we've had no applications since this exemption was introduced. Then we have our highway commercial. So for construction of development, a minimum of $100,000. Commercial development within the highway commercial development area. So it's starting out around the Husky. You want to outline, Kelly, going down the highway, turn off the highway towards roundabout, a little bit of section right there at the mall, and then around there. That's the current map. This is a 5-year exemption, and it's 5-year graduated. So first year 100% exemption, then 80, 60, 40, 20 until it runs out. And assuming a construction value of 500,000, first year you save about 4,600. Over the 5 years, just over 14,000. And we had 1 applicant that's construction for a new car wash. Then we have our industrial development areas on the industrial park. So for construction of development with a minimum value of $100,000 within the industrial development area. So it's the roads down in the industrial park. It's the 10-year exemption. So the first 5 years is 100% exemption, and then plus graduated. So year 6 is 80, 60, 40, 20, 10, and then it goes. So assuming a construction value of 500,000, it's just over 4,600 in the first year, and then 10-year total, 35,000 for the 10 years. And so we've had 3 applications in inception. We've had 2 commercial storage buildings, and we have 1 light machining business, which is currently under construction. And then we have our town center. So this is kind of the biggest area other than the hotel. So for construction, so there's 2 parts of it. So the first one is development. So over $100,000 in value. It's for the commercial development within town center, which will show a comparison to the OCP later, but currently our zone for the revitalization is just off the highway, down Riverside, and up down Main Street and up to the roundabout. That's the current tax exemption area. So 10 years, 5 years, 100%, 5 years, 100% exemption, plus 5 years graduated, just like the industrial. So assuming 500,000 first year, 4,600, over 10 years, 35,000. And we have 5 applications. So this is the most used out of the revitalization. We've had 1 commercial storage building, 3 large renovations, and 1 new laundromat, which is currently under construction. And then we have our town center development area upgrades. So these are for renovations, alterations that are greater than 25,000, under 100,000. In the same area, downtown center. So 5-year 100% tax exemption. And assuming a construction value of 100,000, so maxing it out, got just over $900 in the first year, 4,800 over 5. And we've had 1 application since inception for a retail store renovation. So those are our 4 areas. So how does it work? Step 1, they apply. So they do this when they're doing all their building permits and everything. They need to do this before they give their building permit, just filling out the application, outlining what they're doing. Staff reviews it and make sure that they meet the requirements of our bylaw. We prepare an agreement, which is signed. Then once construction is complete, we do up a certificate, which is sent to BC assessment. And BC assessment actually determines the value of the improvements. So the actual value is determined by BC assessment because the assessment dictates how much tax they pay. And then the agreement is monitored until expiry. So important to know. Individual applications do not come to council. So once the bylaw is set, each application doesn't come back to you. We have to be, so if an applicant meets the requirements of the bylaw, they're eligible for the exemption. Being strategic in this bylaw is critical to ensure the exemption works as planned. So in summary, we have 4 exemption areas. We have had 10 eligible exemption applications to date. And it has been 7 years since the program was established. So we have a new council, new priorities, new ideas, maybe time for an update. Almost time to discuss, please bear with me. Examples of possible changes. We can remove an incentive area. We could amend an incentive area. We could add an incentive area. But there is a cost, remember. So does the tax exemption stimulate development? Or would it happen regardless? Cost for community benefit. The more areas, the more potentially lost tax revenue. So for 2023, it's about 30,000 total. The other 2 that are currently, like the ones that get completed, we don't know the value yet because we have to wait on BC assessment. So every exemption that goes in there, gotta think about it. And what do we really want in Sycamoose? Where do we want it? And is there other ways to achieve it without the tax incentive? Let's be strategic. So an example, we could amend an incentive area. Like, do we want to tighten some up? So currently, this is the area on our OCP for downtown, the red area there. Whereas this is our current tax exemption area. So our current tax exemption area for town center encompasses a bunch of our OCP that isn't technically deemed town center. So we could tighten up some areas if we want to be a little more strategic there, line it up with our OCP. We could add an incentive area. So does the council want to add anything for housing? So listed as an action item on the housing strategy is to stated implement property tax exemption for infill housing, purpose-built rentals, and seniors housing. So one note here, nonprofits already eligible for the permissive tax exemptions that we recently talked about. So just a food for thought. So one of those parts encourage purpose-built rental would be an option. What is a purpose-built rental? A project with 5 or more dwelling units that are intended to be used for rental housing. This does not include buildings that are stratified. And how would that work? We would require a 10-year housing agreement at minimum. We can make a decision of where do we want them, how much tax relief. There's lots of options, and then there's also an option to incentivize commercial buildings that want to grow up and have some rentals on top of them. So there's a lot of different options we could do there if we wanted to do something for housing. And yeah, so that's just to get everyone's views flowing. Thank you for bearing with me, and we can open it up to people's thoughts, time to strategize.
Okay, Council, Council McCabe.
Thank you for your presentation. Well done. Yeah, in my opinion, I think we could scrap quite a bit here. I suggest we keep the town center development. maybe a discussion might be required for the hotel, but I think if a hotel's coming here, they're gonna come here with or without an incentive. We've done a study, a hotel study that we commissioned and done, and it says we can sustain 100-unit hotel in Sycamoose, so. Council might not agree with me, but I think we could probably scrap even the hotel one.
Do we want to just go through each incentive area maybe?
Well, I'll just finish.
Okay,
So keep the town center development and add the housing like you suggested with some criteria around the housing. It has to be for, with a minimum 10-year housing agreement that it is in that rental pool sort of thing. So, yeah, I think scrap everything, keep the town center development and the larger scope going down Riverside Road, because we want to see some development down Riverside Road. And add housing. My thoughts.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. That's great. I remember looking at this a few months ago, and I'm really glad that you're bringing it forward to us now, because I did have some concerns when I went through this, like, I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago, about the scope of it and what could potentially fall under it that we'd be giving tax exemptions to, that people would say, well, why are you giving them a tax, exemption? So I think your point about being strategic, and now's the time to look at this and understand the implications of it, is spot on. So thank you for that. I agree with Councillor McCabe that I think a lot of it can be scrapped. I like the hotel exemption personally, because I think that's an economic multiplier in town. I think it's a piece that I think we've been looking for quite a while. It does kind of come down to maybe where that hotel is. So maybe we want to tighten up, where we would like to see that. I think highway commercial, we do not need to incentivize that. I think, strategically, we've been trying to ensure that our main street fills up. I guess the only place I would differ with Councillor McCabe is I think we should tighten up the town center, because I think we want to encourage some of these lots down on Main Street to fill in and to develop, and that would do a lot of good, I think, for our Main Street. So especially at the 10-year level, right? We're talking about a 5-year complete. So this is some pretty big bucks if it does come to pass. If we took what is the current OCP and applied the bulk of what we're prepared to do in that area, I think that would be a good use of the money. We're already at 30,000, then, that's another 15,000. We're at 1% tax increase, really. It was about $45,000 to get 1%. And if we were able to focus on that town center and a hotel, then I think, to me, that's a good use of potential lost revenue to incentivize that. And I think based historically and how the downtown has not developed, I think it still needs some sort of encouragement. I don't think we have problems anywhere else. To be totally frank, I don't see any lack of, we have a couple of developments now happening on highway commercial. I think we can just take that right out. That's happening regardless. And I think where we want as council strategically to get development is down here. And I think that would benefit the community as a whole. So, yeah, that would be my comments on it.
Official.
Thank you to the chair. Yeah, I agree with both of them. And Ian, it has to be really strategic, and that was a great presentation. Thanks, Bianca. Even when we had, I think we even had a $25,000 tax exemption for upgrading. And I don't know how many people took advantage of it, but we sure saw everybody on Main Street just do a little bit of improvements. I know Linda's did a little improvement, and she took advantage of the $25,000 exemption.
no,
So she didn't? I thought they inquired about it, eh? It was only like, it's only $291. They were complaining that they wanted more. But it cleaned up. We did spark a little bit of interest and we cleaned up Main Street, but Main Street's really, we should focus on Main Street. The highway and commercial, like giving the car wash an exemption for, doesn't even have employees, it's automatic. Grade any employment is really something that we should, shy away from. And then as for, and same with commercial, industrial. If it's an industrial building and they got employees, that we should focus on that, because that's what we're looking for, industrial employment, and not just storage, because, storage does bring a little bit of, so, but the hotel for sure, I think the hotels have large employment numbers, and, but I do think about taking it away from the highway for sure. Thank you.
Welcome, Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. Yeah, I think I agree with everything that's kind of being said. And I'm all for the housing. I think that needs to be 20 or 30 years. I think Sycamoose is going to grow like Whistler or Banff or anything like that. And our housing prices are going to continue to go through the roof. And if we only had 10 years is not very long to live in a place. And then if those are being then pulled out and flipped, I think we need to be really protecting our rental markets, and that purpose built rentals can be protected. But I think if you're getting 10 years is not very long. And if you're getting a good tax exemption, I think we're going to have to really look at that number and bring it up higher so that we are continuing to have our purpose built rentals. We're not getting any more land to build more rentals on. So if we're going to give someone a break on that, I think it's really important that we seal that up nice and tight. And that our Main Street is, that we are still trying to incentivize there. I think that's really important. But I think the industrial, I think people are going to come anyways. So if we have places for them to live.
Bianca, you want to add something?
Just for the time frame, so we're maxed at 10-year exemption.
Yeah, but the housing agreement can be longer.
Yeah, the housing agreement can be
Yeah,
longer.
so the housing agreement to put a covenant on, we can make it 30 years. We can make it 60 years. We can make it 40 years.
Okay.
We can determine that piece, but we're only allowed to give a maximum of 10 years of a tax break.
Okay.
And we can tweak the housing agreement.
Yeah, we can tweak the housing
Yes.
agreement.
Okay, excellent.
Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, everybody's right, brought up great points. My thing is incentivizing some way the development on Main Street and Riverside and in the downtown core of the combination of commercial and living above. And if we can do that, because I think that is critical going into the future. It's critical to bring liveliness and energy to our community in the downtown core. And if there's a way that we can incentivize people to look at thinking of building up and putting housing above, then I'm all for that. And everybody's sort of, the hotel, we haven't attracted one yet, and I thought we would. So clearly we do need to work at that. So yeah, I agree with everyone, but that's my thinking is to get that growth going up, because we don't have much of a footprint left for expanding otherwise.
Thanks, Councillor Beach. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's in agreement to keep the downtown, keep town center development. There's discussion whether to match the OCP or the current area. Riverside, it's got a couple of big lots on there, 1 acre lots, 2 acre lots that could be developed. I don't know why it wouldn't hurt to expand it down Riverside Road, maybe get some bistros down there, some small coffee shops or clothing stores or whatever.
The exemption is going down there right now, right?
Yeah, it's currently going downward.
There's discussion of shrinking it up just to the downtown, match the OCP.
Right, or we could have two different areas within the town center. So one's more aggressive than the other one. So we could have, let's say, if we're using the current OCP, I'm just throwing this out here.
Yeah.
We could have the red area as something, and then we could have this area as a different, like this could be 10 years really aggressive. This one could maybe only be 5. So there's still an incentive, but it's not as much. because these ones are very large developments here and they have a large assessment value. So for example, the property that got developed, the storage property over there, they've applied for tax exemption, and that is over $10,000 each year that we don't get for that storage facility, right?
Okay.
On Riverside. So it also depends on what is being developed there as well. And so we don't want to just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Well, I'm
mindful of that.
sorry, I'm receptive to that, have a less of an incentive down Riverside, but still have something down Riverside, but focused on the downtown core, I agree with. So I think we're looking for a hotel, downtown development, the core as a target, and possibly Riverside as a lesser incentive. And I think that's all council is looking for.
Councillor Rich.
Through the chair. I don't know if it's possible or not, but can we do exemptions? So we've got a storage area on Riverside, but if we, decide as a town that, we want to more have a vibe, can we say, exemptions for mom and pop stores or for clothing stores or pet food stores or, that, so we don't have 7-Eleven coming in downtown or storage. And I'm not against storage units. Everybody has stuff, so please remember that. But I don't know if we want that to be when you're hanging out in Sycamoose or vibe, right? Personally, I would like to have more of a little shops and coffee shops and clothing stores. Is that something we can tweak around? I don't know.
It's kind of like if it's a permitted use right now, so we'd have to determine, we can modify
The permitted use.
incentives. If you only have to look at the permitted uses within those zones and determine what permitted uses you would want to apply those to, right? So what permitted uses, like right? If you want to promote an eating establishment, for example, within the town center, right? I'm just throwing that out there in that zone. So it still has to go back and tie to our, like it all has to tie to our zoning and our OCP, right? And what we want. So that's what we would refer it to. But we could be as specific as we wanted to, no different than saying a hotel, right? It's a certain thing, right? So if there's a thing that we want in a certain area, we could definitely find a way to incentivize it.
Councillor Bailey and then Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can, in that area, I mean, I'd be for taking the OCP, maxing out the, in terms of, I don't know, can we pull that back up, I guess?
Yeah, sorry.
Or whichever the current,
Tax.
whichever the current OCP is, that area, max that out for the maximum incentive. And as Councillor McCabe said, include, that Riverside piece as a lesser incentive, maybe 5 years, and whichever, we could take a look at what that looks. And then I think what we should do within that is take a look at bylaw 1000 and the permitted uses. And the permitted uses within the zones, we can actually tweak. So what, then it goes back to council to say, hey, even the zone, this is what we want on these lots. And here's the list of the permitted uses. We have a really extensive list of permitted uses in our bylaw 1000, something we probably should be looking at anyways, because it's very broad. And as we've already kind of found out, that if we do that, then council really has less of a mechanism to negotiate kind of what goes on these sort of lots, or to kind of frame what could potentially the development look like. So that could be one way that we encourage, like coffee shops, or we encourage a potential downtown hotel development or something along those lines. But I think these are all really great ideas, and sounds like we're pretty close to agreeing. Yeah.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, through the chair. I think, Siobhan's right too, is, it's, you want quaint little spots. You don't want big, you wouldn't want to see McDonald's halfway down Main Street. So, keep them out on the highway. And I know Brian Anderson really fought for that in our planning and development. He wanted no franchises in the town center. And that was one of the things. And I don't know if you can eliminate them. I know we talked about that. No franchises on Main Street. And, but I don't know if we're allowed to do that. And he was really familiar with Tofino because he goes there all the time. And he said they're not allowed there, but I don't know how they're doing it, but it's something to think about. And the other thing I always thought about, is there any way we can incentivize to get the walkway done between Capel and, under the bridge, to get that walkway done on this side of the channel? Is there any tax incentive due for that too? So that's.
Councillor McKay.
Yeah, on my last statement, I forgot to mention, of course, housing, add housing. And I think maximize the tenure on a housing. And then after the 10-year, can you renew that again, or it's just maximum 10?
Maximum 10.
Because I was thinking we could, the longer one trigger would be they'd have to sign into a housing agreement. So I was thinking we can match the incentive agreement to tax it, send it to the housing agreement. If it's 20 years, it would be 20-year tax, but we're not allowed to, so.
Correct. And it's based on new construction values. So what BC assessment does is we give them a certificate that says the assessment value between this year and this year, or they get a break on. So then they determine what that is, and then it freezes that value, and then we don't charge tax on that value. So as it goes on there, it really, you couldn't renew it or anything like that.
And one other last comment. I had property in 214 Capel, and the backside of my property just goes down 100 feet, touches on property from the side. So I was looking at some uses in property in Riverside, what could be in my backyard over my fence. Stuff like a chicken farm, auto body wrecking yard, gas station. Auto body shop, grinding and chemicals and fumes. We might want to revisit some of the uses that we allow on Riverside. I mean, right behind that fence now, I don't own the property anymore, but there's a storage unit, so it's passive, it's quiet, it's okay, but there could have been a chicken farm there.
Councillor Boyce.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks through the chair. I thought one of the other thing too, I thought about is boutique hotels are nice. And there's a few lots on Riverside that you really can't do anything with them other than probably a boutique hotel like Blue Water. They're right on the wet up street. You can't, maybe the Narrows could buy them out and it could become some parking or something, but boutique hotel, you sometimes don't want to forget about those, because I know we said up to 50 rooms, but I've stayed in some really nice boutique hotels that are like 20 rooms or 30 rooms, which are doable on like a long 100-foot lot like Blue Waters.
Yeah, I kind of, go ahead, Councillor Beach.
Through the chair, I'm just curious because nobody really responded to the idea of having living above commercial development on the downtown. So what is the thought on that?
Go ahead, Kelly or Bianca.
So that is actually a permitted use, and that's what we encourage in our town center. So we could add, it would tie to the purpose-built rentals and the development. So we definitely could have incentivize that.
Good.
It would tie to our housing incentive.
We can find a way to do it. We can figure it out.
I think everyone is basically on the same page. I'd like to see the housing strategy and the taxes and know exactly what that looks like before I jump right in, because I don't want us to get us into a situation where they're getting it. Why can't we? Which we need to be really careful. The walkway, and I wish our planner back in the day would have thought this through, because Riverside is along the channel. They're a nice place to walk, and having a walkway there would be great, but you're just walking past industrial businesses and people's homes. It'd be great if there were some coffee shops or boutiques. So encouraging that on that side, if we're going to encourage the walkway and they're gonna, set our sights on that, it would be great to get a nice vibe down there, like you suggested, Councillor Rich. So I think that I kind of feel like we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
No, I was just gonna say that I was gonna kind of throw back to you is should maybe the next steps is you do a little workup, a little mock-up, and then come back, and then unless anything said was kind of unclear or as clear as mud at this point,
I think I'll
I feel like we're on the same page.
I would have
just
fun.
go through each one, just to make sure I'm understanding everyone. So hotel, majority keep. I don't know, would we explore boutique hotel in there?
Maybe we could refine it to 20 or 25 sleeping units. We can,
Do we have it? It's 50 right now?
That was 50.
Or we could put 25.
Point of order.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, that might work. So that if you're encompassing that boutique like the El Dorado or, something like that. Councillor Bailey.
Well, I was just gonna say, the boutique hotel could be within the downtown zone. And then you could keep the potential larger hotel outside of the downtown zone, just throwing it out there as an idea.
We could do that, because then it's, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that would work. If that's kind of where that's where we would want to see a boutique hotel. We create this new zone, we could put in there.
So does it matter really? Like right now it says hotel, it doesn't matter where it is.
Right now, it doesn't matter, as long as it's in municipal.
Can we do the same thing and it still doesn't matter where it is, if it's downtown or not?
Doesn't matter right now, the hotel, it's anywhere within municipal boundaries where they get the full 10 years. So if we want to keep that 50 units, because then, larger hotel anywhere. Yeah, that works.
Okay, continue.
Out there. Okay, highway commercial, we're scrapping.
Mhm.
Everyone's good with, okay. That's an easy one. That's just a delete.
Oh, hang on. Sorry, Bob. Bob, we forgot about you.
I don't think we can hear him.
Bob, you there?
now, Bob,
Does he did he put up his hand?
Through the chair, he hadn't previously, we just missed it.
Bob, are you there? Oh, it's so tough on Zoom.
Yeah,
hey?
can you hear?
Oh,
No,
Really?
you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
You need to get him a mobile Starlink,
You know what?
a mobile
Can
Starlink.
you hear?
Not very well, Bob. No, Bob, you're in a tin can that's going underwater occasionally.
We can see you.
Hi, guys, can you hear me?
No,
No.
no, we can't, Bob.
We can see you.
Do you know sign language? We don't. That's, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
I
Are
can
you
hear
moving?
you. Yeah, hear.
You-
a
Okay,
bit
sorry
better.
about that. Can't hear me?
Half of it.
Are you moving right now?
Okay,
Are you moving? Bob?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can't hear me?
No, you know what, Bob? No, you're breaking up.
I messaged Sarah.
through the chair, I have a.
Okay, okay,
Uh,
I
Council
sent a
Evans.
message. to Sarah.
got it.
Councillor Evans says, I want all hotels to have the same exemptions.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Thanks, Bob. Does he have anything else? Bob, do you have anything else you want to text?
I guess.
While we're waiting for that, Bianca, go ahead.
Okay, so scrapping highway commercial, industrial development, scrapping it.
I. Mm,
Industrial park's full.
yeah, but they're expanding. And the reason that our industrial park is full is I think because there was incentives. Like I know people that,
We've gotten 3, so 2 commercial storage buildings and 1 light machining business, which is currently under construction.
but the other one is AIM, who wouldn't have got one
He didn't apply.
anyone, and yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think we should continue to encourage. Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, I'm not big on that one. I think they're gonna come anyways. And I think we also have to be very careful as we give away money. Because every percentage, 1% is $48,000 for our town. So every
Go back to
percent,
Fido.
$48,000 we need for this town, we have to raise our taxpayers up 1%. So I'm not big on the industrial thing. I think we personally should scrap it.
Counselor Bailey?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's a similar thing. I wonder though, I mean, I liked what Councilor Bushel said earlier, like if it's generating jobs, then I'd be for giving those exemption. My concern is storage units. I don't want to give incentives for storage units and give away that tax revenue and then have to come back to taxpayers saying, hey, you know, I mean, eventually we're gonna tally up this program and it's gonna be some bucks here. And I'd rather have an opportunity to tell people like, we've given these tax incentives to targeted issues, right? And I don't think most people would agree that we would give tax incentives to storage units. I don't think that would be something that people would necessarily cheer. So if we could do something in the industrial zone where, and I don't even know if this is possible, where it is a little more nuanced, that we do actually the machine shop, I think that's good. I think that's gonna add some value. If we could do that, then I'd be for it. But I think just a blanket and then we get a whole bunch of, you know, storage units, then I have issues with that. Yeah.
I do agree with you. It's got to be a revenue generating industrial business. I agree with that. But let's not lose sight of storage units too, because do you know how many people have their stuff in those storage units that come into town and spend money? So it's a necessary, you know, a product for Sycamoose, right? So, you know, I don't, go ahead, Councilor Beach.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna echo what Ian was saying, is that it would be better if we were giving incentives to industry that's creating jobs here and employing people. But
Absolutely.
you've made a good point that people are still coming to town because their storage is here. So
It is a bit of.
there be like degrees of incentive for.
I think our industrial park's almost full and storage units are money makers, so they're gonna build them with or without incentives. I think we scrapped incentives for industrial period.
Well, I disagree on that one, so. Go ahead, Kelly.
Have further discussion because everybody's not on the same page. What we can do is, industrial maybe is a question mark and we can look at the permitted uses within those zones. So if we want to then, not at today's meeting, but when we come back, it's like, okay, so we know we don't want this, whatever, and then we can look at some of these permitted uses and decide if we want to support some of them or not, or whether we want to do it all or not. Right?
The other thing is, we've got motel or hotel as a one item thing. Couldn't storage units be a one line item too with a less incentive? Perhaps.
With the exception of storage units, like we could.
Yeah, or but then again, you know what, they house a lot of,
Stuff.
they house a lot of our economy. Our economics are in there, people coming to Sycamoose.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at, I don't know anything against storage units. I mean, they're good business. People own them. I guess how I'm looking at it, and it's definitely, they are needed. How I'm looking at it is this is an incentive program and we're trying to say we're going to use essentially taxpayer dollars or in lieu of to create something that we want for the town. And in my mind, storage units, the economic case is already there to build them. And I don't think that needs an incentive. I don't have a problem with them. I'm all good. But if I'm just looking at it as, as a counselor saying, what do I want to push to get built? I'm like, I don't know if I need to sweeten the pot for the storage unit. So I just wanted this, and that's what I think we're kind of talking about here is what incentives are there available for us to get stuff that we want done. That's it.
Councilor Bushel. Or ET.
I was just thinking, we're kind of steering it towards an industry or a hotel or whatever. Then I got thinking about our motorsport industry. Like our voting, voting, we're kind of covered there because Papa's and Sea Dog are doing well. But if you look at our mechanical shops, you got Trevor and Leanne are just about out the door.
Irene.
Gail and Jane Block are looking at Caslow, or they're
Yeah.
just out there. They're ready to shut down. Jim and Val, Dave at Powder Lights. Where, you think about that industry and you go, who's gonna look after all these toys? That's kind of scary. So I don't know, is there any way you could do anything like that? I don't know, mechanical shops.
Go ahead, Councillor McKay, sorry.
Well, we did that business walk and that was one thing that was identified in that business walk was the maintenance of our toys, but whether it be boats or sleds or, our tourist industries, how to maintain toys, if you will. And all those people you listed are moving or retiring and no one's filling that gap. But the development, the corp has identified that and they'll probably bring that back to council as a concern, I would think.
Bianca, do you want to carry on? I mean, we're going to probably throw all this on some sort of report so we can sift through it and come back, right?
Industrial, we're just gonna hold off on it. We'll bring a list of permitted uses and potential ones that maybe this does not include these permitted uses. Okay, we'll bring that one back. So town center. Don't go on the OCP map, maybe that one. So what I'm hearing is we could just take the red part, leave that as our town center exemption bylaw. We'll just change the mapping for that. And then creating a new section for the Riverside. And then we'll look at the list of permitted uses and we'll clean that up and we'll talk about it next time and everyone can get their thoughts in a row on that one. So, okay. And then the last one, which would be a new zone, is the housing part, purpose-built rentals. If there's any other ideas there, that one. 10-year, 100% exemption, the 20 or 30-year housing agreement. Does that sound reasonable to draft something up along those lines?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some examples that we can pull from. Okay.
City of Kelowna just did.
City of Kelowna has a good one for that one. Is there any other sentence we're thinking about? Yeah.
Okay.
There was two town center ones
Yeah, so, okay, so there's the upgrades and the renovations.
That you
Do
did
we want to
mention.
keep that or do we want to just make it the 100,000?
speak to the upgrade part.
The upgrade part, so it's, I'm a little confused. So do you want, keep the red? So that one is one zone,
No, not the zones,
two parts to it.
there's two parts. I
So the
don't,
renovation is the 25 to 100K.
I think we were gonna scrap that.
Scrap that part.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, no one's used it, right? We thought that it was,
And honestly, the one that used it asked for a 5-year. BC assessment actually said that it was worth
Little.
more than 100 grand. So that little piece, I don't think we really need. I mean, cost of construction these days, it's gonna cost 100 grand to do a nice
It
upgrade.
would just be white noise and her incentive.
Yeah, so we take that part out like that.
Yeah, and I can talk on behalf of Bianca, these tax exemptions can become a bit of an administrative nightmare as well, just managing them and juggling them and make sure it's all happening right. So, no, they're great to have, like less is more. Kind of, we started back in 2016, 17, when we did this bylaws, were really aggressive, and I think trimming it down now is perfectly appropriate.
perfect. Okay, are we good? All right.
Good.
Let's move along. District bylaw enforcement, Councillor Rich.
Rich, through the chair. I just wanted to kind of discuss what is going on with our bylaw enforcement. There's a lot of chatter around town which happens every summer with parking, with overnight camping in parks, which is happening in lots of parks. I've been doing lots of driving around in the last 2 or 3 weeks at night, seeing who's camping where. And also what we're going to do for coverage with bylaw, because I know this year, I mean, I can't speak past years, but this year we've had some issues with the bylaw, not issues, but our bylaw, John has been ill and then was away for a little bit, and we didn't have coverage over one of the long weekends. I know we do have a part-time person, but they just coach people through, can't write tickets. And then I'm going to keep going and say with the beach park and people camping there, with the yellow gate not being open and shut, again, has been a pretty big issue. I've been again going down there quite a bit at night, and people are using it as a campsite. And there's a lot of kids down there at 10 or 11 at night doing burnouts, doing yada, yada, yada. So if that gate is closed, they actually have to walk in from under the beach, and maybe a little bit easier to monitor.
Councillor Beach.
It just brings to mind through the chair, when Siobhan or Councillor Rich talks about the beach park and the gates there, that we did receive a complaint also from the elderly. What are the elderly people that, well, she's alone now, that lives right there. They used to lock up the gates for the district.
Ms. Sands.
Yeah, they haven't been, it's the beach park. It's the back of the beach park. They used to lock the gates, and the partying and the smoking and the stuff that goes on. She called during the summer about that and was concerned because they're not locking the gates and the gates aren't getting locked. So we're not stopping people from getting in there late at night. And I guess there is lots of activity. Just mentioning that made me realize that had been reported.
Councillor Bushel.
Just Daryl, what is the program for that? Like, are we gonna get somebody to lock the gate, or do we, obviously it sounds like we need to now.
Through the chair, we go back 10 years ago when I got here, it was the Dijongs that were closing the gate.
Yeah.
And the district was paying them to do that at night. And then he took ill, and she's elderly and doesn't do that anymore. We tried to staff it for a while and found that we were locking people in there and getting after hours calls to the utility department as an emergency. So the gate has actually been open for the last 10 years. And we've got it signed that there's no overnight stuff, but I guess we just need to enforce it.
Kelly, do you want to take a stab at this program?
Yeah, no, so just to respond to Councillor Rich concerns about bylaw enforcement and staffing, not specifically about the gate, but just about having somebody able to issue tickets on and when there's gaps. So historically, we used to have 2 contracted individuals who they called the commissionaires, who would do bylaw. And then so there was 2 full-time contractors in the summer months, but then pretty much not much in the rest of the year. And then, staff changes, things happen. And then the last 2 years, we switched to a community ambassador to support bylaw. And I'm thinking moving forward in the next year, when we talk about budget discussions in the fall, that we're going to look towards having somebody, whether it's a contract person or somebody who has a little bit more education than a summer student in the summer months, to make sure that those gaps are filled. I mean, we can't control if somebody gets ill, but I mean, at the end of the day, I hear you loud and clear, and there were large gaps this summer. We have 8 weeks of really busy time, and if 4 weeks our bylaws not here, that's a big difference. That's huge, right? Those are the times. So I do recognize that I'm not happy with our coverage this summer either, and we'll definitely make sure that we look at that staffing situation for this upcoming next summer. There will be bylaw over the winter. It's not such an issue as it is from July, just for July and August specifically, but just on that staffing piece, and we'll talk about it during budget discussions too, so everybody can chime in there.
Councillor Bushel.
Yeah, thank you. Daryl, maybe ever thought about Don Kerr? He lives right across from the gate, and he used to work for us for the district for a long time. And I don't think they go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't thought of reaching out to him.
So just a thought.
Yeah, I guess I'd be concerned with the same problem. If we get Don Kerr or anybody to lock the gate, and we've got vehicles in there, people, that show up later, then they're not knowing how to get out or who to call.
So Daryl, can I, and then Councillor Rich, sorry, no, can we maybe have, the RCMP crews through there a little bit more, and can Byla be present there more? And just see if you could break the habit of what's going on in there, and people start to disperse. So, and I hear what you're saying about locking gates. It's like lock the gate, unlock the gate, lock the gate, unlock the gate. Oh, you locked me in. I live with gates where I work and I get it. So, Councillor.
Through the chair, is it possible to just, like, I mean, I think Byla John works till 10. To lock the gates at 9 and then he does a little walkthrough. And I mean, I know we're not in Surrey, but in Surrey, the gates are locked, and if you want someone to come and get you, it's $250. And you would be surprised how many people walk away from the cars and wait till the gates open in the morning. And that's posted so that it, you know, at 9 o'clock, if there's cars there, if John's locking it up, he walks around and says, hey, I'm locking the gate, move your car. And then if you choose to make that call, you're paying to get your car out, or you show up at 9 o'clock in the morning when the gates open again. And I think with some discouragement, honestly, with the amount of people camping there, I don't, like, it's not that you would know to camp there. Like, you know, if you're stopping at Askew's or something like that, people are actually making it part of their routine. Because how would you know at Sycamoose Beach Park, that's a good place to go camp, right? It's not going to be marked on your travel advisory or whatever. Here's a great, maybe it is. I don't know. But I mean, I was there last night. I actually went down to the beach at about 10:30 at night, and it was like sketchy. Like I was with my daughter and she's like, Mom, why are you so nervous? And, you know, some kids came up and yelled in her face, and there was people smoking, which, well, you're not allowed to smoke weed in our park. There are people smoking weed. And I was like, I actually didn't feel comfortable down there. And that's happened a couple times. So I do think it's something we kind of need to focus on. And I think, like the mayor said, is if we do focus it on a little, that word will go around, and then people will kind of back off. And then maybe, you know, in 8 months or something, we got to up it again. But it's kind of a weird vibe down there. It's not like, I didn't feel comfortable. Like and I've been down there quite a bit. I don't feel comfortable down there in the dark.
Hey, thanks, Councillor Rich. Councillor Evans.
Yeah, I agree with Siobhan. We need to step it up next year and get that gate shut. And I love that idea of charging people if they want it opened up after hours. We just need to have more of a presence, because humans will get away with whatever they can if they don't have something keeping them within some good parameters. So that's what.
Thanks, Bob. Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few concerns about this as well. That's been happening at Park. It seems to be, I mean, I've only been down there once or twice this year, and I've seen elements of it, but it seems that it's maybe trending in the wrong direction, and we're going to have to change some of the things that we might have done in the past, and we're going to have to just adapt to it. I think my big concern is, you know, you get to kind of a tipping point, and then it gets over a little too far, and it's harder to drag it back and realign it after that. And that's when it becomes difficult. That'd be my concern about, you know, the beach park heading that way. We've had some serious incidences at the beach park. I mean, we've had lots, I think, at least, I want to say 4 or 5 pretty serious vandalism incidences there. So over the last couple of years, we know we've had some general mischief this year with someone taking tables and using it as a skateboard ramp at one point, right? So there's an element that's happening. There's something happening there that requires probably a little bit more diligence on our part to keep an eye on it, so it doesn't get so far that it becomes a bigger problem that we'll have to deal with later. So I appreciate Councillor Rich bringing this up. Yeah.
So on that note, Kelly, maybe we just add that to our budget discussions, that perhaps we need 1.5 in the summer, and just whatever Bob works in the winter. I don't know what but he still needs, I mean, you still need bylaw in the winter because our town's full of sledders and trailers, and, you know, so maybe we have 1.5 and
bylaw.
figure out how to make that work so that there's more of a presence. And we do more signage, Daryl, and get a hold of Corporal McLean and let him know to start, get his guys cruising that area. And bylaw cruising it too, and more of a presence. Okay. Anything else? Council Beach?
I just want to say that in view of the sort of the fire situation and how it seems to be sort of coming around and is probably going to continue coming around year to year. Mrs. DeJong also, made a point of saying that she was finding cigarette butts on her lawn. And that was one of the things she was worried about, was fire starting.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of issues of concern for our elderly lady who lives alone right in that area. So
Okay,
quicker we can do something, the better.
okay, we'll get all over that. Okay. Strategic priorities. Oof. Okay. Does anyone want to speak to strategic priorities? Councillor McCabe.
Well, we put out that expression of interest for Main Street here and got some submissions, and Councillor Bushel and Councillor Evans and myself are gonna sit down tomorrow and look at all the submissions. So that's a positive note.
That's awesome. It's very positive. Anyone else?
We talked to the chair, Colleen, we talked, if you're working on somebody's portfolio, just try to include them in it. And that's kind of what I was saying. I talked to Colleen about it. We had a little chat about it, just so if you don't include them or keep them up to date, and so I know we've had a few things where, there's been some things happening that, the portfolio person's not included in the conversation. It's just keep them informed so that he or she can, be informed. That's all I wanted to ask.
Anyone else? Okay. Then let's go to council reports. Councillor Rich.
Well, it's been a busy month. We've seen each other for a while. I had the housing committee meeting, which was really great. Listened to the planning meeting, went out to Malaqua, to the CSRD meeting about some housing that may be going on there. The Healing Center walk, which was very interesting. And then this week have been doing a lot of stuff with fires and evacuees and animals and sick moose coming together. And I just want to say what a community we have. I have been kind of fielding all kinds of calls because I volunteer in different areas. I didn't even know I volunteered in. But from hay to diapers to housing, to somebody who needed a car repair. I have called people that I don't even know and said, I have this person who's stuck here or needs, their $6,000 worth of hay burnt, but their animals are alive. And I need hay for cows, and I have hay for cows. I can say, mamas need diaper wipes. We've got cases of them. So I just am so proud of this community and everyone who has stepped up in every little way they could. And there's just people coming out of the woodwork, and it's fabulous. I'm just amazed. I shouldn't be amazed, but just feel great.
Thanks, Siobhan. Councillor Bushel.
Through the chair, yeah, it's been a while since we last met. I Healing Center site visit with Spatson and the rest of council. That was great. Opening the pickleball. We went to the pickleball.
We did that too.
Ribbon cutting. That was pretty nice. Family day barbecue was lots of fun and warm. And thanks for everybody that helped out with that. Also went to the CSRD public hearing meeting for Alan and Kim Hyde's development and showed support. What else we have? ACTEV meeting. Yeah, we had a good ACTEV meeting last week. And yeah, planning and development meeting. Want to welcome Nicole as our new development service manager. That was her first meeting, so we went real lightly on her.
Yeah, really easy.
And yeah, that's about it. And I just want to say, I missed, I was away for the fires and come, it was great to see everybody pitching in, and yeah, that was really something else. Thank you, everybody.
Counselor McCabe.
Yeah, just went to the healing center with Ms. Blackson there and Council Bush and herself and Councilor Evans, I'm not sure if we'll be back in time. Sit down and go through the expression of interest for business in the bottom floor across the street on Main Street here and some housing. That's a positive note. That's about it.
Thank you. Counselor Beach.
Yeah, the healing center stroll through and meeting with the splashing was really, really good. And I also was sitting in on the housing committee meeting, which was interesting as well, and planning. All of those meetings I've managed to get out to Malacqua to sort of see about that housing development as well. So again, really interesting sort of presentation and ideas there. Yeah, and oh gosh, there's just been an awful lot just trying to sort of connect now with the effort here, which is really big, and trying to figure out sort of how we were prepared, but I think we've got to sort of go back to the drawing board to work together even better for these kinds of big crises, and so learning a lot along the way. And yeah, no, it's been a busy summer for sure. Just trying to participate in everything. The barbecue was great, and yeah, lots going on. I love it.
Thanks, Pam.
Bailey. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure. So just participated, as other councillors said, in the meeting with the SPOT team, and then planning and development went really easy on Nicole. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, looking forward to the fall, where we'll have back to our regular schedule, and I'm sure lots of good things coming up. So more than anything, I'm just trying to keep my head above water at this point. It's been busy on all job fronts. So
I hear you.
yeah.
Counselor Evans.
Yeah, it's I love summer because it's different, but I love getting back to fall because it's going to be a little more routine. But the break that I'm getting with my wife is a good thing. We're headed to Montana next.
Nice.
And we are I'm grateful for the hard work of our staff. And Nicole, welcome to the team in your new capacity, and we know you're going to do a great job. And I'm grateful for people like Siobhan and Pam and others that are really helping us with helping people. There's a lot of people in need right now. And in my other capacity, working with the church in town, there's resources there if folks need help right now with people that are staying with them if they're in an evacuation situation. And I've been fighting the cough. I've been grateful for the change in the weather the last 24 hours. The air is much more breathable.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Welcome, Nicole. We'll make it official later at the next meeting. It's been a busy week staying updated on the situations that are happening in the CSRD. It's been busy. Every day you're updated, and there's extra conference calls and things like that just to keep you current. And it's so fluid and changing so quickly that I don't report on it, because tomorrow morning it's going to be different. So until they've got a grasp on everything and know, exactly what's going on, But they are doing well, and I want to say thank you to the BC wildfires and our firefighters and first responders and the RCMP for their selfless dedication to the jobs that they chose. And it is, they're inspiring. So I want to give them a shout out. CSRD and our staff for doing such a great job in assisting and navigating through this catastrophe with feeding us correct information, the right information, because there is so much misinformation out there right now that you have to be really, really careful what stories you're listening to and what you're buying into. So, and of course, our hearts go out to those that have been displaced or lost a home. I too have had evacuees in my house for the last few days. And it's stressful and trying for them. And, you know, and think back to 2 years ago when Sycamoose was evacuated and how stressed we were in those trying times. So it's kind of like reliving it all over again. And you do have compassion and empathy for that situation because you've been in it. So, and I wanted to do a shout out to Jesse and Kim. They sent a note on Saturday that they were going to open up at the Red Barn for donations. And I think Jesse and Kim's little small appreciation or little funding project turned into a massive funding. And they had a ton of supplies dropped off. I know that I stopped in there Sunday and unloaded a truck full of stuff. So they're delivering supplies, and yesterday she was in need of more people to package and get things out and deliver. So, you know, quick shout out to Pam, to Siobhan, to Bob. And before you know, poof, Jess has got all the volunteers that she needs. So that was wonderful. And she may be out of that space if this project continues, but Mike from Riversong has put up his hand. So if that's the case, then they'll move from the Red Barn to Riversong over at the old waterway plant. I don't know the address there, Frontage Road, something. On Saturday also, my phone started ringing off the hook for people looking for boat slips. So checked in with Daryl, checked in with Kelly, and before we knew it, we had a plan, and Main Street Boat Launch was open to evacuees, and John's now monitoring it. Glenn's monitoring it. They're getting all the information that from those that are using it. So that was great. I attended a CSRD meeting on the 17th, and our letter requesting support for Pacific Transportation to provide better connectivity will be added to the next agenda, and hopefully they will support it as well. The other thing, Corporal McLean stopped in, and I shared this with council about their concerns with miscommunication on rant pertaining to the homicide, and suggesting that the RCMP were aware of the situation. And just to reiterate this so that it's heard in this meeting, RCMP did not have a file on the victim. He did not communicate any harassment or threats to the RCMP. And that resulted in a terrible situation, and also miscommunication makes people a little bit off. So we need to stick to the facts and get our information from those that know. And I don't think that Rent's a reliable source. So it turned into a bit of people thinking that the RCMP were not competent in their job, and name calling and not trusting them, whereas they are competent in their job and they did their job and there was no file open. So I just wanted to make sure that that's shared. Also, you know, in our community, when there's a disaster and that comes up and everyone's busy and looking at other things, we get some unfavorable characters in our neighborhood, as you said, Councillor Rich. So there were a couple things up around my house that I kind of red flagged in the last few days. And then I heard a couple people in town talking about break and enters and things like that. So just keep an eye out. Don't leave your valuables in your car. Watch your neighborhood, stay in touch with your neighbors, just at this time, because there's so much going on that, thieves think that everybody's got their eye off the ball, but we need to keep our eye on the ball and keep our community safe. So any suspicious activity, report to the RCMP. And on a positive note, we have so many exciting things coming up. We have the purchasing agreement with the Eagle Valley Housing coming up this evening. We have, we had an update on our daycare, which is amazing, wonderful project. We've got phase development for Old Town Bay coming up tonight and EOI housing across the street. There are a lot of really good things that we've got on the go right now. We should all be really proud of. And yeah, so let's keep our eye on the ball. Thanks. That's it for me. So is it confirmed? Okay, so we're just waiting for confirmation. The Watershed Council referendum has been postponed because of the wildfires in the area. So, and I think the other part of that resolution was to just stay on course where we are right now with our parcel tax, which is what we pay now. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about that whole project anyway. I think people thought that they're gonna have to pay extra on their water meters, and which is not the case. Right now, you pay a parcel tax to support this. So we're just gonna stay on course and continue until we have the referendum at a later date. Okay, so now we're gonna open it up to the gallery, and I am sure that our gallery here has lots of questions and things. Go ahead, Deb.
Just want to give a real quick update on a few things. So we're up to 132 members of the Sickness Pickleball Club. And that we're not all the people playing. There is also public playing, and there's we've got even more people that have signed up for our Facebook page, so that are interested, but haven't pulled the trigger yet. So we've been a little scrambly with the smoke, going back and forth between the curling club and doing the different, but it's going great guns. We decided for Communities in Bloom not to do a showcase project this year. I had talked about doing it earlier, but the Red Barn, the Arts Council, was not able to get the artboards we needed for our project done in time. There's a deadline at the end of August. Instead, Camden and I are working on an update that we're going to send to the provincial meetings. They said they would love to hear what we're up to. And I said, between the heritage, there's so many really good things we've done this year that we're going to send them an update and some pictures, and they're looking forward to that. Funky Fest, a lot of bookings. It slowed down when the fire started. People seem to be a bit nervous about that, but the rain is going to be helpful, and talking to the hotels, good rates for everybody. And so, yeah, I'm expecting we will have a successful Funky Festival. So, and that's just less than right around 3 weeks away. So.
Okay. Brian, anything online? Nope. Nope, all good. Okay, we will adjourn. Oh, should we adjourn or should we recess? You want to adjourn this because we're going in camera? Adjourn it. Okay. So recommendation of the committee whole meeting for August the 23rd, 2023 adjourned at 1:54. Could I get a for Councillor Bailey, Councillor Beach, all in favor? Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bob.
I also.
You can have that. You can have